Hey, I'm Isaac Kozak. I am a designer helping out with the Deckible app. And I wanted to make this video of how you can upload your deck onto Deckible. I'm also a deck creator. I created this, the Horizon Masculine Archetype deck, and I went through this process myself, and I'm going to go through some tips and tricks and ways you can do it. So this video is going to take around 30 minutes. It's kind of long, but you can watch up to the parts that you're working on, pause it, do those things, follow along right through the process. So you should be able to get it done a lot easier that way. Now, the amount of time that it'll take will depend on how complicated your deck is, how many cards you have, and so on. It took me about an hour to do it with mine. It could take you an hour, 2 hours or so. Again, it depends on your particular needs, but hopefully this video will take away a lot of questions and make things easier for you as you're preparing your deck and putting it up on Deckible. All right, so let's get started. So you should have gotten an email with some links, one of them being to this page. This is where we can start the uploading process. And this is deckible.com/template. On this page, you'll see it says you can check out the import process, clicking there, and then it talks about creating your spreadsheet, which is going to be all the information around your deck. You can also copy this CSV datasheet, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. So if I click my import process, more information on that brings you to this page, and it just shows you step by step what you're going to do. First step, make sure you got your artwork. Make sure it's a good ratio. There's some best practices here. The card image should not be more than 1080 pixels wide. It should be PNG, JPEG, or GIF, and so on, right? So definitely check this out and make sure you have your artwork ready to go. Same with the box artwork. Ideally 1000 by 1300 for the artwork. And then you're going to start creating the data sheet. So I'm going to show you starting at step 3. So here we are. We got that link /template right at deckible.com. And I'm going to make a copy of this CSV datasheet. I already have that open. So here it is. And what I do is I go to File, Make a Copy. And I'll make a copy. It's best to name it something like your deck /Deckible datasheet, whatever, right? And then from here, I can start editing things. And the idea is this is where all the information about your deck is going to live. And you can start by either the name or the file name, wherever you'd like. I personally found starting by the file name is one of the best ways. Another thing that's going to help you along the way is throughout this document, there are these little black squares or black triangles up at the top of the cell, and that is to tell you that there is some info there. And you put your mouse over it, and it's going to show this info box that you can read. So if you're wondering about the name, you put your mouse over it and it says, this is the name of the card, best blah, 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 right? So it'll just give you some information. So right now we're looking at the first face or side of your card, right? It's the unique side. It must end in a PNG, JPEG, or GIF. You're not going to include the file path, so like the name of the hard drive and the different folders. You're just including the end, so the correct here is just that end, right? I'm going to show how to do that. So when I'm getting started, I like to work with the face, get all of those file names down, and then I'm going to deal with the name of that card. It just makes it easier. I'm going to show why. So here's some of the art that I have for my deck. And I could type these in by hand, or I could double click, get the file name, copy, paste. It's going to take a while, so there's a few tricks that'll help speed this up. If you're on PC, you can select all of these. And once they're selected, you come up here to copy path. If I click that, it copies the file name and the path, right? And I come here I right click and paste, and it has all those paths in there, or the file names. Now for copying the file names on a Mac, here's a little clip of a video.
Please use Command C. Where's copy? Copy 19 items. Okay, now what you want to do is go into a Microsoft Word document. And this will also work in Google Docs. And what we're going to do is paste this in here, but we're not going to do a straight paste. We're going to right click and say paste special. And then we're going to pick unformatted text. And voila, we have just the file names only and not the entire file, messing up our whole thing. You want to do it in Google Docs, open up Google Docs. It's just the same thing. You right click, you say paste without formatting, just a little bit different wording, but it's the same thing. Now I can take this list and I can copy it and I can go paste it in an email, for instance, or another place where I need the text that doesn't have that option for pasting unformatted file names.
So you can copy it into a document, paste without formatting, and then move it into your Excel. But I also think you can right click and paste special. But you can try that. I don't know because I don't have a Mac, but that should work for you to copy all those file names. Now, if you're on Mac, you can hit Command+C to copy and then just paste it in. And it should look something like this. Now, I have the file name right here. Well, this is the file name, but here's like the folder structure, and that's for my computer, and I don't want that. So I can go in and delete that, or if I have a whole bunch of these, what can make it easier is I select this. I'm going to hit Command-C or Control-C to copy. Then I can go to Edit, Find and Replace. So that's Edit, Find and Replace. And from here, I can find, I just paste it in that. So anything that has this, I'm going to replace it with, I'm going to keep it blank, and then say Replace All. If this shows up, don't worry, you can say, don't show me this again for 5 minutes, just because I'm editing this field. Hit OK, and there we go. It deleted all of that and just left the name at the end, right? That looks great. So I would do that for all of my art. I would go through and I'd copy and I'd paste it all in. Now for the name, I'm just going to keep this easy. I'm going to Control copy that. I'm going to paste that in here. But then I'm just going to go in and clean this up. So I don't want this to be called JPEG. You'll notice it was red. Well, the reason it's red is anything with a file name at the end, like .jpeg, .png, is going to show up as red. It's called conditional formatting. It's to warn you that this shouldn't be a file name. This should be the name of the card, right? So as soon as you get rid of that end, the dot whatever, it should disappear. So I would just go through here, delete all this so that I have the name of my card. Now, maybe you had test names, temporary names here, you want to name it something different. Go ahead and do that. And this name is what's going to show up in Deckible when you're looking at that card. And again, you want more information, put your mouse over here. It'll say things like, best if you fit 1 to 5 words. I'd say like the fewer words, the better for the name, and some other information here, right? So that's looking good. Now, phase 2, I like to think of phase 1 as the unique side, right? I only have 2 sides to my deck. So I have the unique side and I have a shared back. If you have a shared back, you don't have to add it to here. You do that later on in the process. If you have a unique back, the face 1 would be your unique backs. The face 2 would be the unique fronts if you're talking about 2 cards, like 2 sides to a card. But you also have the ability to have multiple faces. And those are for things like explainer cards. Maybe you have a third face, which is going to be, hey, this is what this card is all about, or whatever, right? So you can add those here. Maybe interesting images that you like to associate with that, or whatever. Prompts, writing prompt. Maybe, you know, this is the art, and the second face is a writing prompt to go with it. If you made a digital image that you're going to upload to represent that next face, right? So this is going to be the same process from face 1 to face 2. You go, you look at your files. I like to copy the path, paste them in here, and edit them so that they're the right name, and so on, and you move on. I'm just going to delete these from this example for right now because I only have a face, one face. Now, image file name. Do not edit this. This is just what's needed on the back end for us. If you try to edit it, it should bring up a warning. Just leave this alone. And don't worry about editing those. So let's move on. Our card tags. This is where you can add tags to things. Now, this is not SEO. This is not keyword stuffing. This is like saying, okay, if I have this deck, if I could separate it into multiple piles so that the user could pick one pile, let me put it in here. So in this case, these are all part of what's called the father archetype in my deck. So I'm just going to hit father, right? And I can actually see that little dot there. I can click it and drag down. So those are all now with the tag father. I know, because I created the deck, that these two here are also shadows, or shadow archetypes. So now if someone wanted to just look at the shadow archetypes, they would click the tag shadows, and those would just show. If they want to see just the father, they would click that, right? So having only two, 1 or 2 is the preference for tags. Also, your deck shouldn't really have more than 5. Maybe in some, certain cases more than 5, but generally you're talking about 5 or so tags total. And each card should only have 1 or 2 tags. Now, there might be instances where you don't want cards to be shuffled and showed up to be able to be put down into a spread or a layout. Those could be like explainer cards or extra cards that talk about your process or something else that you've added here that you don't want in the playable stack of cards. And if that's true, then in the card tags, you just put no shuffle. And you can also see here, it's in the info text if you need a reminder, but it's just no shuffle. And that tag will make it globally so it won't show up in the shuffle and be able to be used in the playable kind of area, right? Card URL. This is if you have a specific web page that people can go to learn more about it. So I know I have all of my cards online. So here's my website, and it's in my guidebook. People can go through here, so they can go to father. I can click that, and they can read all about these different archetypes. So I can take that address, I'll copy it, I'll come back here, and I can put that in as my URL, right? So then I can just have those URLs, and we're going to be able to share those in the app. But we're also going to take all this information that I have here, I'm actually going to put into Deckible, so when they're in the app, they can easily use it as well. So description. This is great. So off my website, here's my description. I'm just going to copy and paste. So that's the father. Copy that. Come in here, paste it in. And don't worry, these will be fixed on your version. Here they are. That's all pasted in there, and I can see what it'll look like, right? So that's the description. Now, if you have audio or video, you can add the URL So the URL would be something like SoundCloud, and then the video would be something like YouTube. And this can be used to play that in the app. You can also add a unique file, right? An audio file name or a video file name, and this is something you're going to upload later. So same like before, you don't add the path, you just add the exact file name. So you don't add c .. folder / and then the name, you just add the name of the file in here, in the audio file name or in the video file name, right? Cool. Now, in most cases, you're not going to have to worry about a background color. This is if you have something that's kind of like a PNG that's transparent. There are cards that have parts of it are transparent. And by default, the canvas in the app is white. So you might not want white for a specific card. And you would add the hex key or the name like white, red, or so on in here. Now you can do this per card and it'll override whatever your global setting is for the background color. Most people, you just don't have to worry about this. Don't worry about it. Border color. So a lot of cards have borders, right? And you can define what this border color is if you want to somehow have certain suits have a different border color than other ones. But by default, it's black. It's super thin. It works really well for tons of different colors of decks. So I would just leave that as is. But if you want to get really particular, you could do that per card, or a certain suit is a certain color or whatever. But again, that's pretty advanced. I wouldn't worry about that much. And reversed, this is the description for if there's a reversed meaning. You can add that here. That might be for a future release of the app. And these last three. So for these next three, these are kind of wish list things, but it's just good to get this information so that if we develop this in the future, we'll be good to go. And that is the sample, screenshot, and freeze. So sample is when you're looking at your deck in Deckible. You're in your deck info for your deck. There's going to be cards that you're seeing as samples because people want to see the art, the writing, whatever it is, to know if they want to get it. If you don't want a card being shown in that, then you can add no. So it's preset to yes, but you can add yes or no to override that. But again, these are just being shown as examples so they can get the deck. Then there's screenshot. This is a wish list. There's some technical, stuff to make this happen, but if a card is on a spread and they try to screenshot on their phone, if it's set to no, it won't let them. It'll say, put up a little pop-up and say, hey, you can't do a screenshot of this. By default, it's yes, but you can set per card as no, right? Me personally, I just am going to let people take screenshots. It's just like if they put out the cards and took a phone and took a screenshot, right? There's no difference, and then they're sending it to their friends. For me, that's fine because it increases sales just getting the word out, but it's up to you. And lastly is free. So there might be instances where we give a few cards away for free to promote your deck. Like, oh, here's 3 cards from this deck. Check it out. And if you like it, go get it. You can say yes or no on a per card basis. This is defaulted to yes, but you can change it up to you. All right, so those are all the different fields. And you can come in and use that info to read more about it by just putting your mouse over the name, and it'll give you some more information. All right, so once you have all that in, you want to save this, download it as a .csv, and I'm going to show you the rest moving forward. Now, once you have that spreadsheet all ready to go on Google Sheets, you download it as a CSV, then you're ready to continue with this process. All right, so here we are on this page again. And what I want to do is, now that I have my CSV ready, is I go to Decks and All Decks. So up here, all decks. It brings me to this page. We can already see the one that I created, but let's make a new one. To make a new one, down at the very bottom, down in here, there's a new deck button. I click that, and it opens up this deck information where I can put it in. It automatically creates these hilarious names for decks, and I would put one in, so let's just call this test. My tagline, this should be like a sentence or two of what this deck is about. Your description, right? You add that here. Author. You can add this, like sometimes there's the author name as well as artists or other people involved. You can just have them with a comma. And then status, we're going to keep that in draft. Now, if you want to create a universal background, if it has transparency, right, then you can do that. And if you want to create a border, you can control all that here. You can add a video and audio, right, being associated with the deck. On the deck level, do you have a video? You can add a URL or upload the file here. Any links, where can they buy the deck? You add that there. All right, so I create my deck, and now we get to this page. And from here, the first thing we need to do is drop in our CSV file, the thing that we just created. So for me, I have this. I go to File, and let's export, download CSV. Cool. I come back to that page. I click and drag it in, or you can use your browser, and it's uploading it. Great. So right off the bat, you'll see that I am missing. It says red, missing. But it does give me some information about the tags, the name, and so on. So what I need to do is I need to upload the images, right? And to do that, my face is in the way. Over here in the corner is Upload Art. So I click that, and I can now upload my art in here. So let me go back to there. I'm going to drag these in. It's uploading them. Those 7. Missing files, none. Great. I did that correct. So from here, I can go to my box art, add the card back, the box front and back, right? I can also view my cards by clicking here, and it's going to load up and show me what cards that I have, their images, and so on, right? Now from the cards, I can add one at a time, but that CSV is just so much faster than this, and I can see what's written, a file that's associated with it, and so on. I can see all that information. So let me go back from this box art. So I got the CSV loaded, great. I've got the art uploaded, I'm not missing any, great. Now let's look at the box. So the box should be, if we go back to this, 1000 by 1300 shape, right? And one easy way that you can do this is by going to Canva. You can get a free account, you can upload and do all sorts of things. But from Canva, once you join, you can create a design. Down here, there's a custom size. I'll do 1000 by 1300. Create a new design. And then from here, you would take whatever artwork you have and drag it in. So let me see what uploads I have. Okay, so I have this one, which might work. This works great. So I'll put a background. I'll add this, right? And I might even have image here. Sometimes that's hard in Canva. Canva's not perfect. And then I'm going to position this backwards. Cool. That's pretty close to my box. You know, you might want to spend time and make this look as good as you want. You got to remember, I'm going to actually zoom down. It's going to be more like this size. So the clearer, the better. Like, you don't need a bunch of art in here. This actually might be a little bit busier than needed for this. Like, I might, if I had time, I would make that kind of bigger and redesign it, right? Like getting rid of that top or something. But just for this example, I would do that, and then I would export it as a JPEG or a PNG. So I'm going to download it. Cool. Once I have that, you can create any design software that you want. That one's just super easy. Now back here, I go to my box front. I can choose that. Great. And I update deck. It's going to add that front, and it's showing me what it looks like. Perfect. I would also want to add my back, right? But in this case, everything's looking good. So I can go back to decks, and here we are. We see my two decks, right? The one that I have up and my test. And I can do things like edit it from here. I can, if I change something in my CSV, like a file name or a description, I'd actually import a CSV and change it here, right? I can upload more art. I can do all sorts of things by just looking at that menu. But let's go to edit. You can see it brings me back to this information. But I can also go to box art and start changing things if I need to refine them. They're not looking how I want them to. And once we have that, we are good to go. If I'm ready to share this, to publish it, I can click that little menu to look at it. I can even do that from decks. So I'm going to look at all decks. If I'm good to go, I click that menu. I go back to edit. And then I go down to status. It's in draft, and then to publish. And that is just saying, hey, it's ready to go. It's ready to be published, right? And then I update my deck. There you go. That is setting up your deck in Deckible. So once you have this all ready, put it to publish. Send a message over to Nick to let him know, and he'll help set that up and see if there's any problems and get everything going on Deckible. Really stoked to have you join as a creator. It's a really cool community. I've met so many different deck creators over the years, and seeing a bunch of them join in on Deckible, it's really cool. I think giving people this option of using decks on the go, having them on their phone, in their pocket, is amazing. It's going to lead to a lot more deck sales, and it's a different way of using cards, right? I'll still love my physical deck, but if I'm on the go, this is a really awesome way for users, for your customers, for people who like using your cards to interact with you and with your deck. So yeah, thanks. Glad to help you here, and really appreciate it.